Hello, Packers fans, and welcome into our Packers News Facebook Live question and answer session. We are here in Kansas City, still on the field. I think we're one of the last few here, Ryan.
Shutting this place down.
Yeah.
Closing time.
You don't have to sing. It's okay. We'll
I'm
move
here
on
for
quickly. Packers lost. They had been on a 7-game win streak, of course. They now dropped to 7-2 after a 13-7 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs here in Arrowhead. This was Jordan Love's first start. So let's put that out there, and let's just kind of preface it with that. A general analysis, though, your first takeaway from this game.
Well, I thought the most impressive thing that I saw from Jordan Love was after the game when I asked how he felt.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty disappointed, and he said, "Yeah, really disappointed." I mean, he owned it. Like,
right.
Look, Jordan Love was not very good, right? I mean, we saw the same game. He didn't play very well. It was a big part of this game. He could have very easily hid behind excuses, distractions. It's been a hell of a week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real here. It's been a long month this week in Green Bay.
It has been a long month.
But he owned it. He said he's really disappointed. He's got to play better, and he's right. By the way, he's got to play better. There wasn't a lot of silver linings from the way that he played. He looked like a nervous quarterback. His accuracy wasn't there. Wasn't able to make a lot of plays. But if you're looking for if you're a Packers fan, you want what to feel good about. He did show leadership afterward. I mean, he did own it.
His final stat line was 19 of 34 for 190 yards, 1 sack, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Technically, a better stat line than Patrick Mahomes. Not something that happens every day.
That's a whole other mess. But I don't know what to make of that Chiefs offense.
However, was not able to keep them moving. They were at one point 0 of 10 on third down.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're not. And I think by the end of the game, they ended up being 2 of 12 because they converted 2 third downs on the touchdown drive. You're not going to win many games going 2 of 12 on third down. Something that Matt LaFleur himself said afterwards. How big of a factor do you think that was for this offense?
Oh, it's huge. And look, they call it a money down for the reason,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Where you make your money.
Where you make your money,
yeah.
Right? So who makes money in this league? That's players. Good players. Good players, superstars make money. Third down is where superstars make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that type of, I don't know, what's the opposite of efficiency? Deficiency?
Sputtering.
Let's go sputtering. When you have that kind of sputtering on third down, you don't have Aaron Rodgers on the field, it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, Matt LaFleur kind of fell on his sword after the game. He was very deliberate in putting the blame on him. He said that obviously Jordan Love was pressured throughout.
Mm-hmm.
He said that it was a bad plan against the Chiefs blitz package.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, though, and I asked Matt LaFleur this, he still put it on him, but at the end of the day, he needed his quarterback to make more plays.
Right. We have a comment here from YouTube that says they couldn't handle the zero blitz. That seemed to be a huge part of it. Sometimes it felt like I was watching like the old NCAA football game as they were going like engage 8 and just sit everybody. Do you think they knew they could get away with that with a quarterback in his first start in this stadium, which is very, very loud?
Oh, yeah. They wanted to make Patrick Mahomes play quarterback, which
Jordan Love.
Yeah,
Pat too.
It's been a long
Pat
week.
Too.
It's been a long week.
One of those quarterbacks that played here.
They wanted to make Jordan Love play quarterback. Let's try that again.
Yes.
And that young guy, road environment, they pressured him. Kind of like you might remember the line that the Packers wanted to make Mitch Trubisky play quarterback. They wanted to make Jordan Love. The Chiefs wanted to make Jordan Love play quarterback. He didn't do it very well. He was just 14 targets to Devontae Adams, 6 completions, 42 yards.
Oof,
not great.
That's rough.
Not great. You don't see that with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. That's odd. You see 12 catches out of 14 targets for 150 yards and a touchdown. That's what you see. So it was a big difference. That's
a less than 50% efficiency rate.
Not what you want.
This is, as y'all know, this is my first week on this beat, but to update me, is 14 targets for Devontae Adams normal?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I saw that number and my eyes bulged.
It's a lot. No, see, this is great perspective, though, because this is like, it's not normal, right? It's normal for him, but it's not normal
for other wide
for
receivers.
anyone else in the league.
Even for a wide receiver 1, that's a high number.
It's a ton.
Yeah,
it's a ton. No, I love. Wow, it is a lot.
Yes.
It is a whole heap. But it is one of those things where that's just what they do.
Defense, however, played one of their better games of the season. Did so without Eric Stokes, who suffered an ankle injury during warm-ups and was questionable and eventually ruled out, I think, even before halftime, never played a snap. Luckily, they did have Kevin King back this week. He was able to step in and start opposite Russell Douglas. From your opinion, is this a game that the defense at least can build off of as they go into the home stretch here of the season?
Yeah. That don't look now, but the Packers have a top 10 defense. Like, legitimately. They came into this game ranked top 10 in points and yards, and they just held Patrick Mahomes to 13 points. And I get it. I don't know what's going on with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, that entire Chiefs offense. That is a mess. But the Packers defense had a lot to do with that. They lost Eric Stokes basically in the pregame. Wasn't able to play because of a knee. Matt LaFleur said he doesn't think it's serious. Kenny Clark leaves midway through because of the back. Doesn't return.
They didn't have Kiki.
Didn't have Kingsley Kiki. They didn't have Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander either. Kind of important players.
Right.
And here they are holding Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense to 237 yards and 13 points on their home field. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this team that Aaron Rodgers coming back can't fix.
That's a great point.
Like, other than special teams, I mean,
we're going to get to special teams here in just a minute. Before we do, a couple of people have pointed out, I'm not even going to pop them up because it's several comments now. Chris Barnes came to play. He did. Yeah. I'm trying to even remember what his final stat line was.
Stats?
Let me pull it up real quick here on my handy dandy stat book.
That play he
leading
made.
tackler. He had a game high 9 tackles, so he led both teams with 9 tackles, tackle for loss. And that's all it says on the stat line, but he had a lot of pressure too into the backfield and created a lot of avenues for his teammates.
The play he made at the goal line, that
was incredible.
Was that Darrell Williams?
Williams, yes.
Oh my goodness, that was a pretty sweet play. I mean, that's one of the better defensive plays you're going to see.
He read it the whole way.
Yeah, to read it, to finish, to smack him on his butt the way that a linebacker should to a running back and treat him that way. I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want. That was an impressive play.
Speaking of that play at the goal line, they were in that position because the special teams had muffed a punt and given the Chiefs the ball back at the 10-yard line. The defense, I asked Savage about that series after the game, and he said, he basically admitted they knew there was no way to get out of that without giving up some points. So it was basically just hold them to 3, and which they did because of that huge play by Chris Barnes. But again, they were in that situation because of a muffed punt by the special teams. There was another muffed punt at the end before the game was over, which, God and Oprah Winfrey are the only reason that ball rolled back into Amari Rodgers' hand. And then there were there was a missed field goal and a blocked field goal on the second and third offensive possession of the game. Essentially, that's 9
huge
points
plays
that the special teams gave up. That's a 9-point differential, and in a 13-7 game, that's the difference in a win and a loss. Yeah. Matt LaFleur seemed sort of resigned, I guess, about the special teams afterwards. He said, that's something we have to get fixed. Is that fixable before playoffs start?
It hasn't been fixable for how many decades now? I mean, that's a short amount of time. It's a long time, but it's a short amount of time. Make no mistake, the Packers lost this game because they didn't have Aaron Rodgers. Like, let's be very clear about that. But you're right. I mean, I stink at math. This is why I write for a living. But 13-7, that's 6 points, 9-point swing.
The only math I know how to do is to add up touchdowns, and I know that that 9-point differential would have helped covered up that.
They've got to get that fixed for when Aaron Rodgers does return. Which, by the way, we should say Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback if he's asymptomatic by November 13th.
That is something Matt LaFleur specifically said tonight, correct?
Yeah, I asked him that. I didn't want to ask him before this game, but obviously this game's over as soon as the post game. I asked Matt LaFleur, is Aaron Rodgers going to be – and he was unequivocal. He said absolutely Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback if he's asymptomatic. The minimum – the soonest he can be back is November 13th. And that's 10 days. So if he's negative and asymptomatic, he'll be the starting quarterback. But they need better special teams play. I mean, that's an issue.
I mean, Amari Rogers, they drafted him out of Clemson almost specifically for this reason, right?
Yes.
You know, you have to almost wonder, and I think LaFleur was asked, and he said he would look at the film tomorrow on that muffed punt. It wasn't necessarily his fault. It was a teammate, Wilkins, who did like a somersault and kicked the ball, so it technically went off him. But you almost have to wonder, should Amari Rogers have come out and fielded that punt?
You always got to catch a punt. You always got to catch a punt. Right now, the Packers special teams is basically an FML emoji. And that's the best way to put it.
We can say that because it's after 9 o'clock.
That's right.
Steve says we don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what we don't know what we're talking about, but feel free to elaborate, Steve.
Happy weekend to you too, Steve.
How much of the missed field goal? Actually, let me restart that question. The missed field goal and the blocked field goal would be very easy to put on Mason Crosby. It's important to remember, though, that the Packers brought in a new long snapper this week. This was his first game ever in the NFL. He bounced around to a couple of practice squads before. This was his first game. Not saying it was necessarily his fault, but it was obvious on both field goals that the laces were not in the right place. That is something Matt LaFleur himself admitted after the game. He was not ready to commit to if it was the snap or the hold that caused the issue, but it was not correct. That being said, do you think they even look at another long snapper again this week?
As patient as they were with Hunter Bradley, probably not. The first one was clearly they didn't get the laces turned. I didn't get a good look at the second one. So the first one you can't really put on Mason Crosby. The second one, that's fine. I didn't get a good look at the operation. The protection of the second one was an issue. They obviously they had more leakage on that right side, which has been an issue all season for them. So they clearly have not gotten that worked out yet, and they need to.
Steve said that we were wrong about the 6-point differential. It was 9 points because it's you give up you miss 2 field goals, and then you give up the muffed punt, which allows Kansas City to get the field goal. That's where you get the 9 points.
Very good math.
Yes.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
I don't know if I can get that myself.
I could be wrong. Yes, the laces were off on both of them. Next week is the Seattle Seahawks. We really kind of thought that the Kansas City Chiefs were not who they thought they were. And granted, what they showed today, again,
they had issues.
They had issues. They were just lucky to get the quarterback that they did in the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, could feasibly roll out to that Seattle game without a week of practice. He doesn't need it. So is this team, I guess, still okay? How lucky were they that this was an AFC game? How much does that help them in the playoff picture? Was this the game it was okay to not have Aaron Rodgers?
It helps. I mean, what on earth happened to the Dallas Cowboys today? I have no idea. Right now, the Rams are getting spanked. Last I checked before I came down to the field, they're getting spanked by the Tennessee Titans.
It was like 23-3 at half or something like that.
So all of a sudden, you're looking at what? One lost team. That's Arizona in the NFC, which, by the way, the Packers obviously have the head-to-head tiebreaker against. So it helps.
They did spank the 49ers today.
Here's where it not by the grace of God, not to get into this, but here's where the lack of vaccine. You might have heard about that with Aaron Rodgers, unless you're like living under a rock this week.
I'm jealous.
Here's where that even if he comes back against Seattle, if he's a close contact and unvaccinated, and it happens in the playoffs, and it's within 5 days of a playoff game, he can't play. You saw what happened tonight when he doesn't play. That's what happens.
With that being said, how many more snaps do they give Blake Bortles over the next couple of weeks? Do you resort Jordan Love to your third string guy and give Blake Bortles more of those looks?
Can't do that. I don't think they're going to do that. And I even had the thought today that in all possibility, Blake Bortles, he could have been worse, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Love got some rhythm late.
Mm-hmm.
He had some decent moments. They were few and far between, but it wasn't a complete shutout of decent moments tonight. But there were times does Blake Bortles give him a better chance to put a drive together here? It was not great. There's no chance that they're going to do that. you don't crush a young quarterback that could very well mean a lot to your future that way.
That's fair. And that is important to remember. This was his first game. He did have that huge shot to Devontae Adams just before half, that 35-yard shot.
Randall Cobb.
Oh, yes. I think we're thinking of two different throws.
The 35-yarder where he hung it up, and I don't know how Thornhill did not make.
Yeah, that was more on the receiver's end, but still impressive. Yeah. And then the touchdown drive towards the end, it looked like he was more comfortable. They were rolling him out more, getting him on some boots and getting him out where he can work. He is an athletic guy, and that's probably where he's more comfortable in the open field, wouldn't you say? What was the difference between the first quarter Love and the fourth quarter Love?
Well, he was standing and firing, which is something that Matt LaFleur has talked about. He was hitting open receivers when he had that stretch of, I think it was 7 straight completions. They were mostly open guys, but he was standing and firing and delivering the way that Matt LaFleur has said that he needs to do. He's letting it rip, which was a phrase that Matt LaFleur used in preseason. You saw that early in the fourth quarter. There was no hesitation. He was hitting, getting back to the back of his drop, putting his foot in the ground and letting it go. That's what he's got to do more of. And, young quarterbacks can have an issue with that. So, as far as, he only 5 scrambles for 23 yards tonight. I was a little surprised by that. Because it was clear that the Packers wanted to get Jordan Love outside the pocket, partly for his athleticism, also because when you're going against zero blitz, it's good to try to, not be a standing duck in the pocket. But for a guy that's the game plan for them to only have 23 yards in 5 scrambles. I was a little surprised there weren't more plays made with the legs.
And when he did scramble, it was for the most part positive.
Yeah.
So maybe something we see in the future. I know that I touched on special teams, and that's coming to Packers News tomorrow. Tell everyone what you have coming that they can look out for, or that's already posted.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of Jordan Love. This
Shocker.
is, I know, right? What to write about out of this game? Lot of Jordan Love. I wrote about just kind of the game from his vantage point. Really disappointed. Why was he disappointed? Hey, props to the fact that he owned it, right? That's leadership. Some interesting perspective from Aaron Jones in that story. Matt LaFleur with some interesting nuggets. And I know that Tom Silverstein and Pete Doherty are also going to be writing Jordan Love. Spoon's going to get into the plan against the zero blitz and how that was a huge part of this game. And you don't want to miss what Pete's seen as much more Packer football than anybody. You don't want to see what he thinks of Jordan Love's debut.
Yes. So follow along on Packers News as we continue to as we continue to wrap up this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve, to answer your last question, I'm sure we will get into some more of the lack of RPOs for Jordan Love. And follow along as the Packers get ready for the Seattle Seahawks and the possible return of Aaron Rodgers. Thanks so much, guys. Y'all have a good night.